It's official, the new season of Formula One Drive to Survive is now on Netflix, which is always good fun. So, as you know, I've been pretty excited for this new season. I do love the behind the scenes content, and it's honestly very entertaining. I've already seen episodes 1 and 2, so those are the two I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to tell you guys all about what I think Drive to Survive got right in these 2 episodes. Let's crack into it. Okay, so we start off with this honestly brilliant scene with Mattia Binotto and Gunther Steiner in the Italian countryside driving around in a tiny little green car together, and honestly, what a way to start the season. This was so entertaining and fun to watch, and it was just great to see the dynamic between 2 people we may have otherwise not expected to be together. But actually, they've been friends for a while. Like, I was kind of thinking, oh, it's the bromance we never knew we needed, but actually it's been there all along. We just never saw it. So yeah, these guys have been friends for a pretty long time, and I mean a long time. So that was really interesting to learn about today. Who'd have thought back then that they'd end up where they are now? It looks like probably about 2005-ish. So something I really liked about Drive to Survive Season 5 Episode 1 was how they introduced all the drivers. They had them coming up to the main stage and they were saying like, oh, and for McLaren, it's Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. I feel like that was a really dynamic way of introducing them all, and you know, hearing the crowds cheering and stuff. It was a really fun way to do it. Something else I really liked was they did poke a bit of fun at themselves. They left in a clip of Toto Wolff saying, "This is not a documentary, this is more like Top Gun," which is pretty funny considering Tom Cruise is always hanging out in the Mercedes garage. The chronological order was really good as well. I felt like they kept things in the order that they happened, which is obviously really good for the narrative. It helps us as viewers keep track of everything a lot easier. Even as a long-time fan, I still get very confused sometimes by Drive to Survive's ordering of things. Sometimes it can get very confusing when they start throwing random races in at random points and then going back to races we've already seen. But in episode 1, they actually did a really good job at keeping it in chronological order, starting us off at Bahrain pre-season testing and then heading on to the Bahrain Grand Prix. It was really good. Yeah, so I was very impressed by that. That was definitely something that they've improved, I'd say. Something else I really liked, they showed clips from this photo shoot here that you can see on screen. It was really nice, honestly, to see the drivers all kind of hanging out together, you know, just having a little bit of banter. It was really nice to see them all having a nice like camaraderie between them. You know, seeing them all investigating the cars as well. It was really cool to see, just, you know, kind of poking fun at each other. And Max saying Checo has a big butt or something. That was pretty entertaining. It was just really nice to see a nice friendly vibe between the drivers. It's not always something they show in things like Drive to Survive. So it was really great that some of that got highlighted. I also really appreciated how they showed the differences between the cars. They explained that while they all do run to the same formula, obviously there is a lot of variety between the cars. Obviously, with Mercedes' design for 2022, very, very unique to what we saw from the other teams. So it was really good that they spelled that out for people who might not be aware that the cars can be so different. And of course, we did see the drivers coming to have a little laugh at the Mercedes and how silly and different it looked. Something else that I think was handled very well was the whole situation with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the subsequent dropping of Nikita Mazepin. They told the story quickly, factually, and fairly, really. They told us everything that happened and explained a bit why, and they didn't portray Mazepin as either a victim or a villain in this situation. They just said what had happened and moved on, and I think that was something they really got right regarding this topic. And then, of course, leading on from that, we met Kevin Magnussen again. He's back. Return of the Mag, everybody. He did a really great introduction of K-Mag, basically showing some of his Drive to Survive highlights, you know, all his "I don't care if I die in the car" moments, you know, his dramatic interviews. But not only did they go over person we already know him to be from Drive to Survive, they also introduced his daughter, which was absolutely adorable. It was so sweet to see him being a dad, and honestly, seeing this softer side to Kevin, it was so endearing, and it's definitely made me root for him a little more. Something else that I feel like Drive to Survive handled really well was showing that while drivers can be bitter rivals on track, they can still be friends off it. As they explained with Max and Charles, You know, they've grown up together, they've known each other a long time, and while they are rivals, they also have respect, and I think that was really important to highlight, and we've all seen this video.
I'm leading, he wants to pass, he pushed me, I push him back, and after he pushed me off the track. It's not fair.
Thank you Max. Charles Leclerc. Charles, what's happened with Max?
Nothing, just an incident.
We can all hear this image as well, I think. And then the episode did finish back where we began, with Gunther Steiner and Mattia Binotto back in Italy having a glass of wine or something. It felt like a really circular episode. It had a very satisfying ending. It's almost like they were toasting to a good day of racing and they were ready to go again. So overall, I was really impressed with episode 1 of season 5, Drive to Survive. It felt very well thought through. I feel like they improved on a lot of things that I would have wanted to see from them in past seasons. And generally, it was just a very enjoyable and satisfying watch. I did actually really enjoy it. Just before we move on to reviewing episode 2, I would quickly like to tell you all, if you do want to support me, then just buy F1 merch as you normally would, but use my affiliate link, which you can see on the screen right now, and I will also put it in the description. Anyway, moving on. Episode 2 is called Bounce Back, and we are learning all about porpoising. Not this time. Not this kind of porpoises. They are kind of cute though. I mean, look at him. Look at this fellow here, this chap in the sea. No, this type of porpoising, the type that every F1 team, specifically Mercedes, did have to face, especially towards the beginning of the 2022 season. This episode is very Mercedes focused, and we hear a lot from George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. While episode 1 got the chronological order really well, episode 2 does kind of go back on that, and we go back to testing where we learn about how lots of teams are struggling with porpoising. We do see that most teams manage to solve the issue, however, Mercedes do still struggle. As you can see, the car just will not stop bouncing, and it was proving very difficult for them to solve. I really do enjoy the technical talk in Drive to Survive. I think they explain it really well. A lot of the technical side of Formula 1 can look really confusing and feel very overwhelming, so I do really appreciate it when it's explained really clearly for everybody to understand, whether you're really good at engineering or you're very new to it. We did also sadly see Lewis struggling with a lot of the porpoising, especially that very painful to watch scene where he's trying to get himself out of the car, and you can see he really is in a lot of pain. I felt really bad for Lewis, and yeah, I just wanted to go help him out over there. I did appreciate Drive to Survive showing this side of it. I feel like Lewis did work really hard in the season, not only with developing the car, but also coping with the porpoising, which was affecting him very severely. So I'm very glad they highlighted this so well. We did also see some very interesting behind the scenes content where we were introduced to a lot of the team principals in a meeting. We saw Toto Wolff definitely lose his cool, where he basically accuses team principals of being killers. It's very strange to see him lose his cool like that, so it was definitely quite a jarring scene to watch, and Christian Horner accused him of doing showmanship for the cameras, and Toto was like, I don't care. It was really quite dramatic, but it was a really great insight into what goes on behind the scenes with the team principals in meetings like that. So it was actually a very good scene, and Netflix, wow, can't believe they managed to get that all on camera. Anyway, so then we head over to the British Grand Prix, which again does make me worry a little bit for the chronological order for the season. Obviously, the British Grand Prix was quite well known for quite a big crash involving Zhou Guanyu. Now, they do show this crash in full. It's pretty painful to watch, even if you have seen it live or several times over. They do the whole crash in slow motion. You see every hit he takes, and yeah, it's a pretty hard watch, but it really does show you just how fortunate he was that we have the safety measures we do today, especially the halo, and what a big deal it was, really. I also appreciated that there was no mention of the protesters at Silverstone. They don't deserve the airtime for endangering the drivers, marshals and spectators' lives, in my opinion. I understand they were trying to protest, but that was not the way to go about it. So I do respect that Drive to Survive left that out. because they could have easily over dramatized that, which I think would have been a bit tasteless. Yeah, so we do see several drivers involved in this crash, including George Russell, who we had been following for this episode, and Alex Albon. I was surprised we didn't hear more about Alex Albon's side of the crash, but I think that makes sense considering we didn't hear a lot of it in F1 media at all, because obviously Zhou was the one flipping around and ending up on the other side of the barrier. For those that don't know, Alex did end up having to be taken by helicopter to hospital for checks. He was okay in the end, but he wasn't feeling great for a while after that. What they did show of Alex in this crash was just him in his car saying, "I'm okay," on the radio, and then they moved on. So I'm interested that maybe we'll hear a little more about Alex's roller coaster of a season, if you know what I mean. But for now, it is all about Zhou Guanyu and this very dramatic photo, which if he doesn't have as his desktop wallpaper, he's missing a trick, because that is a pretty cool shot knowing that he's okay after all that. We also heard this from George's perspective, how he saw Zhou flipping over the barrier, seeing this crazy crash unfold in front of him in the space of 3 seconds. And as a racing driver, he knew that feeling trapped in your car is one of the most claustrophobic things. So he immediately rushed over to try and help. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for George for doing this. And then we were told, oh, there's some news on Zhou Guanyu. And they cut to a scene in Drive to Survive in the interview room of an empty chair. And I'm like, what? They're basically, for a second, almost insinuating that he was dead, which I don't know. I don't know about that one. But luckily, about 5 seconds later, woo, he's all right, guys, which was fantastic. Obviously, we all knew he was okay going into Drive to Survive. Well, most of us knew. If you haven't seen the 2022 season, then that was probably a scary 5 seconds. Because they really did give the imagery of him being no longer with us with the empty chair. But thankfully, he was okay, and they did show that. We also saw the other side of that race where Lewis Hamilton went on to take 3rd place, and we did get to see the entire "through goes Hamilton" moment, which is honestly one of the moments of that race, and probably the whole season for me, so I was really glad they left that in. And we also had a really positive ending from Lewis Hamilton, which felt really satisfying given all the struggles we'd seen him go through in this episode, where he reassured us that he is not going anywhere. He plans to stick around for many more years, so that was great news if you're a Lewis fan. And that's all for episodes 1 and 2. Overall, I was very impressed with how they did everything so far in season 5. I feel like they have listened to some feedback and criticism from fans. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty excited to watch the next few episodes. Also, let me know what you thought of the first 2 episodes. I would love to hear it. Obviously, as fans, we all have different opinions. Please don't send hate towards anybody who is involved in Drive to Survive, and just be considerate. Keep in mind that we are not the target audience as people who have watched Formula 1 for a long time or are very familiar with how Formula 1 works. Formula 1 Drive to Survive is aimed at people who are new to the sport, and for people like that, it's a really great introduction. And for us longtime fans, it's a really great look behind the scenes. So do keep things kind and respectful as always. So that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like and be sure to subscribe. Also turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. I really appreciate it. We also hit 500 subscribers today, which is a huge milestone. I'm really happy and I really appreciate the support. So thank you all for being here from the very beginning. You're all amazing. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you all later.